Most traders don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they can't accept the truth. The truth is cold, silent, and merciless. The market does not bend to your opinion. It does not respect your effort, and it does not reward your need. It only responds to price and action. That is the law, and those who deny it are eliminated quickly, without ceremony. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. A man enters the market with confidence. He has studied, read books, listened to advice, and convinced himself he is ready. He places his first trade and fortune smiles. He wins. The profit is small, but the feeling is enormous. He believes he has discovered a secret, a path to riches. What he has discovered is the deadliest trap in speculation, the illusion of skill born from luck. That first win teaches him nothing useful. It rewards randomness and disguises it as talent. It makes him reckless, overconfident, and blind to danger. That is why most traders fail, not because they start ignorant, but because they start lucky. And luck in this business is poison. I know, because I lived it. When I was young, I began in the bucket shops. I watched the tape, memorized patterns, and believed I had mastered the game. In that small sandbox, I could win. My confidence grew with each trade, and I convinced myself that success was inevitable. But the moment I stepped into real exchanges, the truth struck me harder than any loss I had ever taken. Execution was slower, spreads were wider, and the noise of the market drowned out my supposed skill. My edge vanished, and my capital with it. I did not fail because the market tricked me. I failed because I tricked myself. Arrogance disguised as knowledge is what destroys traders. The market punishes arrogance without hesitation, and I was no exception. Confidence not grounded in discipline is nothing but exposure. That is lesson number 1. Survival matters more than being right. The trader who lasts is not the one who wins early, but the one who endures when the early wins disappear. The market is a machine built to exploit weakness, and the greatest weakness of all is emotion. Fear and greed. These are the twin destroyers. Fear strikes when a trade moves against you. The loss is not unbearable, but the pain of being wrong is. So you freeze, you wait, you hope. The market does not reward hope. It rewards execution. Greed arrives in a different form. It appears not when you lose, but when you win. A position turns profitable, and instead of following your plan, you crave more. You take profits too early because you fear giving them back. Or worse, you hold too long, ignoring the signals, convinced you deserve more than the market offers. Both fear and greed are rational in disguise, but deadly in practice. They whisper when you need silence. They urge you to act when you should wait, and to wait when you should act. I have felt both. I have cut winners short because I grew nervous. I have held losers too long because I could not admit I was wrong. Each time the outcome was worse than if I had simply followed my rules. That is why most traders fail. Not because they don't know the rules, but because they cannot obey them. A strategy is only as strong as the discipline of the man who follows it. You cannot trade your emotions. You can only control them. And if you cannot control them, the market will control you. Discipline is the lifeline of a trader. Break it, and the market will take everything. Many traders believe that bigger size brings bigger profits. That illusion destroys more accounts than bad setups ever have. Risk is not measured in how right you are. It is measured in how wrong you can be and how quickly you can stop the damage. I never entered a position with full size at once. I tested. I probed. I waited for confirmation before increasing exposure. If the market proved me right, I added. If it proved me wrong, I stepped aside. This was not hesitation. This was protection. The boldest traders rarely last. The precise ones do. I have seen men enter with maximum size on unconfirmed trades, only to panic at the first pullback. The trade might have been valid, but their position was too large to survive a natural fluctuation. They didn't fail because they were wrong. They failed because they were too large, too soon. That is not trading. That is gambling with arrogance. Overtrading is another form of the same disease. One trade ends, and the trader immediately searches for another. Not because the market offers opportunity, but because the trader cannot sit still. He confuses motion with progress. But the market does not pay for activity. It pays for accuracy. Constant motion creates friction, and friction in speculation is expensive. I learned to wait. I learned to sit on my hands until the market showed me what I was looking for. The setup had to be clean, the tape had to confirm, and my focus had to be sharp. If any of these elements were missing, I stayed flat. Not because I feared trading, but because I respected the cost of being wrong. The amateurs chase every ripple. The professionals wait for the tide. That is why amateurs drown and professionals survive. There is no shame in doing nothing. In fact, doing nothing is often the highest form of discipline. The hardest skill in speculation is patience, and it is the one most traders never learn, and so they fail. A loss in the market is not failure. A loss is information. It is a report card. It tells you if your system is sound, if your discipline held, if your risk was respected. But most traders refuse to listen. They bury mistakes. They blame the market, the news, or their luck. They avoid reflection and rush back into trades, and so they repeat the same errors again and again until their account is gone. I learned to study my losses. I wrote them down, broke them apart, and asked the hard questions. Did I follow my plan? Was my size correct? Did I act with discipline? The answers were often painful, but the clarity they gave me was worth more than any profit. That is how you build an edge. Not by winning all the time, but by learning every time. The trader who studies his losses gains wisdom. The one who ignores them gains nothing but another loss. The market is a teacher that never stops testing. It does not grade on mercy. It repeats the same lessons until you learn them or until you are gone. Most traders disappear because they refuse to be students. They want shortcuts, secrets, easy formulas. There are none. The principles are simple, but they are not easy. Cut losses quickly. Let profits run. Trade with structure. Ignore noise. Act with discipline, not emotion. These are the truths. They do not change. They do not forgive when broken. Traders fail because they treat these rules as advice instead of law. And when the market enforces its law, there are no appeals. Every trader begins with excitement. He opens his first position, takes a small win, and believes the game is his. But the market is not a game. It is a business of execution. It is not what you think that matters. It is what you do. If you cannot cut a loss, if you cannot wait for the right setup, if you cannot follow your system, then you will fail. Not once, not twice, but inevitably. The result is never uncertain. It is only a matter of time. That is why 90% of traders fail. They are undone not by knowledge, but by habit. They refuse discipline. They embrace emotion. They chase action. And the market, indifferent and merciless, sweeps them aside. The minority who last are not the smartest. They are not the most educated. They are not the boldest. They are the most disciplined. They understand that trading is not about being right. It is about surviving. To survive, you must respect risk, follow structure, and obey your own rules with iron conviction. Without that, you are not a trader. You are a gambler, and gamblers always lose. I know because I have been both. I have won fortunes and lost them. I have risen with discipline and fallen with arrogance, and through it all, the reasons never changed, the patterns repeated endlessly. Men enter with emotion and exit with regret. They chase noise, ignore logic, and refuse to see what is right in front of them. The tape tells them the truth. They choose to ignore it. The market punishes them for their defiance. This is the cycle that destroys the 90%. It has not changed since my time, and it will not change in yours. The greatest danger in trading is not the market. It is the man who faces it. The market is indifferent. It moves according to supply and demand, pressure and exhaustion, fear and greed expressed on a grand scale. It has no malice, no kindness, no intention. But the trader carries with him every weakness of the human condition: impatience, pride, hope, fear, greed. These are the forces that wipe out accounts long before the market ever does. The trader who cannot master himself will never master speculation. That is the dividing line between the few who survive and the many who disappear. A system protects you from yourself. Without it, every trade is an emotional decision, and emotional decisions have no edge. I built systems not because I loved rules, but because I distrusted my instincts. Instinct told me to chase. Instinct told me to hope. Instinct told me to believe that the market cared about my needs. It did not. It never will. What saved me was structure. A system tells you when to enter, how much to risk, where to place your stop, and when to exit. It is repeatable, measurable, grounded in logic, not feeling. And most of all, it must be followed without exception. A system ignored is worse than no system at all, because the illusion of safety is more dangerous than its absence. Most traders never build one. They follow rumors, advice, opinions, and impulses. They enter positions they do not understand and exit them for reasons that change with every tick. That is not trading. That is guessing, and the market has no mercy for guesses. The amateurs say they trust their gut. I say the gut is the graveyard of capital. The market does not reward instinct. It rewards consistency, and consistency comes only from structure. I once ignored my own rules. I thought the market would bend. I thought the tape was wrong. I thought my belief was stronger than the law of price. I paid dearly, not because the market was cruel, but because I betrayed my own discipline. That is the most expensive mistake a trader can make. The moment you abandon your plan, you surrender to chaos. And chaos does not negotiate. The market punishes improvisation. It exposes randomness. It destroys those who act without foundation. The 90% fail because they never build their foundation. They wander into the storm without shelter and wonder why they drown. The truth is simple. If you want to last, build a system. And if you want to win, follow it every single time. Another reason most traders fail is the refusal to take small losses. They believe holding will save them. They tell themselves the price will turn, the market will reverse, and their position will be vindicated. This is the deadliest lie in speculation. Losses start small. A tick, a dip, a pullback, nothing alarming. Then hesitation, then rationalization. The trader enlarges the time frame, searches for news, tells himself it is temporary. Deep down, he knows, but he does not act. Hope replaces logic, and every second he delays is another second he gives his account to the market. Soon the loss is not just numbers on a screen. It becomes a weight on his mind, a wound in his identity. Closing the trade would mean admitting failure, and so he holds, not because he believes, but because he cannot let go. I have been there. I once ignored my stop, convinced myself it was only noise. That single mistake cost me more than the profits of 5 winning trades combined. The market did not do it. My refusal to act did. A small loss is tuition. A large one is ruin. And the difference is time. Every trader must learn this truth, or the market will teach it the hard way. The smartest traders are not those who win the most. They are those who lose the least. They take losses quickly, cleanly, without hesitation. They cut what is not working and preserve capital for when it matters. They know that a single uncontrolled loss can erase years of discipline. And once it is gone, it does not return. That is why the 90% fail. They cannot accept the cost of being wrong. But in this business, the cost of denial is far greater than the cost of humility. To trade without humility is to invite destruction. Another sickness that kills traders is the need to always be in a trade. They believe that if they are not active, they are falling behind. But most of the time, the correct move is to wait. Waiting is not weakness. It is strength. I learned to do nothing until the tape showed me clarity. The setup had to be right, the confirmation undeniable, the risk defined. If it was not, I sat still. Not because I feared loss, but because I respected the cost of impatience. The market does not pay for activity. It pays for accuracy. Most traders overtrade because they fear missing out. They chase noise, convinced that constant motion means progress. It does not. Motion without purpose is erosion, friction of the mind, friction of the account. I saw fortunes made not by the number of trades, but by the quality of a few. That is the difference between activity and productivity. Most traders never learn it, and they disappear quickly. The 90% fail because they chase the market instead of waiting for it. They drown in noise because they cannot sit still. There is no shortage of advice in trading. Everyone has an opinion. Friends, brokers, strangers, all eager to tell you what to do. But the market does not reward borrowed conviction. It only responds to your actions. If those actions are built on someone else's belief, you are already exposed. I have followed tips. I have listened to confident voices. It never ended well. Not because the advice was always wrong, but because it was never mine. I was not trading the market. I was trading the person. And when the trade failed, I had nothing to fall back on. No reason, no structure, no clarity, just regret. That is why you must trust only the tape, only the system you have built and tested. Others may inspire you, but they cannot protect you. Their conviction will not save your capital. Only your own discipline will. The 90% fail because they outsource their decisions. They want someone else to carry the weight. But in this game, the weight is always yours. If you cannot trust your own decision-making, you are not ready to risk real capital. And if you consistently follow others, then you are not a trader. You are a follower, and followers do not survive. One rule is repeated so often it becomes cliché. Cut your losses short. Let your profits run. Every trader nods when they hear it. Every trader repeats it to others. And yet when the pressure comes, they do the opposite. They cut winners and hold losers. They betray the very rule that could save them. This is not a slogan. It is survival. It exists because the market is unpredictable. You cannot know the future. You can only manage the present. And the only way to consistently extract profit is to limit damage and allow strength to reward you. Traders fail not because they never heard this rule, but because they lack the discipline to follow it. When I cut losses quickly and let profits grow, my account strengthened, my confidence sharpened, and my focus improved. When I ignored the rule, the damage was inevitable. The 90% fail because they nod at wisdom but live in defiance of it. They know what to do, but they cannot do it. That is the heart of their destruction, and so the truth remains. Most traders fail not because they are ignorant, but because they are undisciplined. They chase action, surrender to emotion, abandon structure, and refuse humility. The market does not forgive these sins. It does not care who you are, what you need, or what you hope for. It only listens to price and action. And when you betray the laws of discipline, the market takes everything without hesitation. If you cannot control yourself, you cannot control risk. If you cannot control risk, you cannot survive. And if you cannot survive, you will fail. That is why 90% of traders are eliminated. But you do not have to be one of them. The path is not hidden. It is difficult, but it is simple. Build a system, respect risk. Cut losses quickly, let profits run, trade with structure, ignore noise, obey discipline. Do this and you separate yourself from the 90% who don't. If you refuse, the result is not uncertain. It is only a matter of time. Remember this. The market is not your enemy. Your habits are. Fix them, and the market becomes something else entirely. Not a threat, but a mirror. And if what you put in is patience, structure, and control, what comes back may surprise you. Stay sharp, trade with reason, and never forget why 90% of traders fail.